Hey guys! Hey, I know you guys are all eager for us to continue the Tales of Retrospective quickly, and trust me, nothing would make me happier. But come on, you gotta give us some slack. I mean, Gene's not really contributing much of his time because he's wasting it on some stupid 9-to-5 day job. Loser.
Hey man, someone's gotta pay for all this stuff.
Anyway, well, you've all been waiting long enough. Here's Tales of Destiny.
So after Tales of Fantasia concluded, or at least during the final stretch, the original maker, Yoshiharu Gotanda and Yoshiaki Inagaki, left Wolf Team and Namco to form their own company, Tri-Ace, where Star Ocean began. What's pretty funny about this is that unless you've played both of the original games, you wouldn't notice that the character sprites in each game look very similar. Hell, the whole game does! I'm honestly surprised Namco didn't sue something.
Yet when they brought in Kosuke Fujishima to redesign the characters, I'm guessing they didn't have much ground to stand on since officially they look more like this, despite the on-screen characters looking like Inageki's original designs.
Fast forwarding some years later, presumably around 1996 through 1997, the success for the release of Fantasia became so apparent with Namco that the higher-ups as well as the remaining members of Wolf Team and Telenet figured that a follow-up game was definitely a great possibility and it should be looked into. However, this time it should cover an all-new cast with an all-new story and a whole new world. Not only that, but the PlayStation had been released and was marketably the best console on the, market, winning many favors for its ability to use discs and ability to use full motion video as well as other little neat tech features the Super Nintendo just wasn't capable of doing. Granted, its lifespan had virtually ended anyway with the Nintendo 64 on the rise. So within a short amount of time they had, the developers at Wolf Team and Namco pulled resources together to come up with an original tale. One that features a characteristic genre that kind of defied the status quo of typical RPGs, which we covered last time when we stated that most if not all common RPGs followed a simple trope when it was simply good versus evil. You're the hero with the typical party of generic classes. Ironically, the characteristic genre they had defined translated to the phrase Fateful RPG, which in turn matched the name of the game, which was dubbed Tales of Destiny.
Of course, the development team was still fairly fresh off their works of Fantasia, and weren't very inept on straying outside of their comfort zone. While they were definitely going to take advantage of Sony's new hardware, hiring the popular production IG studio to create a fully animated intro for their new Tales game. They also recruited the band named Dean to do the intro theme song for the game as well, which is titled Yume de Aro Yuni. Not satisfied there, they decided to kick it up a notch, bringing in new blood to help develop the series of characters further. While the redesigner of Fantasia, Kosuke Fujishima, didn't return, a new female artist named Motsumi Inomata was hired to help. She had years of experience as an artist for mangas and anime, worked with Toei Animation, and could definitely deliver. She would continue to stay on board designing main characters even to today.
Understanding although Tales of Fantasia was very successful, the gameplay could have been executed a little better. Looking back with an open mind, they finally realized that, yeah, there were some gameplay functions and things like that could have been tweaked for the better, which ultimately resulted in Namco revisiting Tales of Fantasia multiple times with more remakes, as we covered earlier.
Content with the progress made in the upcoming Tales of Destiny, it was clear that the company wasn't sure how far they should go to change the game from what people knew, literally aside from tweaking a few inconveniences. Destiny featured an updated linear motion battle system, which now allowed the player to equip 4 special skills instead of 2 specific ones, and allowed them to be executed far easier with the directional pad. A much needed update was the ability to bring a friend on the adventure with you via multiplayer. Ambitious as it was, Wolf Team made the option for multiplayer very difficult to understand, as it wasn't really a readily available option. Player 1 would need to find a specific item, aka the channeling, equip it to the desired character, and use a multi-tap putting the controller in the correct slot just for it to properly work.
That is a pain in the term used for a donkey. Make matters worse, there were only so many of these channelings in the actual game, and losing them accidentally was definitely a possibility, which meant your friend could be screwed out of playing again. Yeah, that's nice.
How about letting us plug it into the controller slot in the second controller port and be done with it? Why did it have to be overly complicated? What were they thinking? Aside from that, the visuals of the game didn't really exceed that of what we saw on the Super Famicom. This is what we meant about the developers staying in their comfort zone. As cool as the new features were, and definitely welcoming with the new cast, a fantastic musical intro, and so on, the game virtually made no effort to push the console's limits and maintained traditional 2D chibi sprites on a 2D world. In 1997, during the Tokyo Game Show, Tales of Destiny was revealed to the Japanese consumer and was showcased on the floor with a playable demo featuring some levels that, well, ultimately were dismissed in the final release. But according to the hype, it seemed like the game was going to be phenomenal, and the plans moved forward in full speed. The demo was later released to the public in Famitsu magazines. And then came the release date, December 23rd, 1997. Tales of Destiny hit store shelves in Japan, living up to the hype and promises it made when it was first revealed. Across many boards, Tales of Destiny was doing very well, being praised for all of its nuances and efforts the developers had put into the game. However, some critics were less than eager, giving the game low scores for its poor graphics, staying very similar to the Super Nintendo and, well, not very up to date. Despite some minority mixed results, Tales of Destiny received some awards and was loved by its Japanese. So successful, Namco thought it would be a great idea to localize it in other countries. So 1 year later, in September of 1998, Tales of Destiny was officially released on the United States. Thus, what most would say is the very first appearance of the series in the country. However, that's untrue. True, it is the first game to be released, however, America was not denied knowledge of its existence, as we revealed in issue 83 of Nintendo Power that we knew all about Tales of Fantasia. Unfortunately, we also knew that the likelihood of us receiving the game was very slim. Not long after Tales of Destiny's American release, the final say was in on its release. While the results were genuinely mixed, there were positive things said, but also negative things shrouding it. The beautiful intro, giving it life, was a standout that people loved, while the story was a hit and miss for others. Everyone pretty much agreed the gameplay was good, but with the power of the PlayStation, it could have definitely been optimized better. Unfortunately, the negative things said really couldn't be argued with. The visuals that Wolf Team were delivering was clearly outdated for its time, and people investing in a new video game console were wanting to see more of what it could visually do. Destiny completely failed to please his eye candy, save for Production IG's intro. One other thing that was criticized was the battle rate, which unfortunately was a consistent problem since Tales of Fantasia on the Super Famicom. The rate of the fights happened way too often, not giving any player enough time to breathe, let alone think about where to go or what to do, or even think about so much as the difficult puzzles that the game laid out. Making matters worse,
due to translation errors, a couple of the puzzles were actually unsolvable with the clues given to the player, left for them to completely guess the right pattern until it was done right. And given the internet was just starting to become a thing, you can imagine how insanely difficult this was for people. Despite all of that, by the year of 2007, Tales of Destiny would go on to be successful. Being a rocky start for its American port as well as for Wolf Team being on their own without the main leaders backing them in the right direction, everyone was shocked by how much of a huge hit Tales of Destiny was. It didn't change much, but it knew what to keep familiar and what needed to change with the technology given. With one remake of Fantasia not long released after Destiny, improving the flaws Destiny had with no visual enhancements, it was clear from there on that the team knew how to make the perfect Tales game, and so they would. but that wouldn't be released for some time. Fast forwarding 9 years after the companies had some inward changes, the Tales Studio and Bandai Namco began development on a remake of Tales of Destiny, exclusively for the PlayStation 2 in the year 2006. First debuting in the 2006 Tokyo Game Show, it was set to be released in Japan in December. American audiences, however, would be, well, out of luck, unfortunately, because by this time it was being speculated that the Americans really had little interest in Namco's famed RPG, so we wouldn't be getting quite a few key games in the franchise from this point on. Why they came to that conclusion, we'll never know. But this problem was later rectified when fans overseas made it clear that the demand was fairly high.
The remake of Tales of Destiny, without a doubt, was a monster success, rebuilding the game from the ground up with an enhanced story, changing a couple of things for dramatic purposes, adding some more animated FMV cutscenes, giving the players a larger, more colorful 3D overworld with 2D animated dungeons and towns, and the oh my god, why didn't we get this game aerial linear motion battle system. That emphasized a lot of mid-air combat moves and combination attacks. Going on a personal hands-on experience, the battle system in this game was amazing. We constantly talk about the perfection of one game in particular, but the fun we had teaming up in this game, regardless of not knowing what the hell to do, it was so much fun that we thought it was damn close in catching it, and to this day are genuinely pissed that we didn't get a localization. The game also had a couple of other additions that made it worth noting, like the fully voiced cutscenes, which by now was kind of a standard, and an active party window where characters could interact during their adventure. By the time this video releases, the same competent translation group we mentioned before, called Absolute Zero Translations, will have been working on an English translation for this particular Tales game. Unfortunately, due to unknown reasons, probably being not paid anything, they kind of choose when to work on it or quit on it altogether, which is kind of going on right now. A real shame too, we'd have loved to have used this translation for the series. In 2007, however, Namco stated that Tales of Destiny would once again be revisited. Sorta basically DLC for the old generation. Tales of Destiny Director's Cut would be released 1 year later in 2008, which was fully compatible with its original release's save data. This version included some difficulty enhancements, Lilith, Stahn's sister, being a playable character now, which was an added treat since she was originally going to be in the PlayStation version, but was scrapped probably due to timing. However, could still be accessed within the game's coding via a GameShark or Codebreaker, allowing for playability. As well as an all-new Leon Magnus mode. This allows you to play the game from Leon's point of view, adding to the narrative a little. In short, Tales of Destiny was Wolf Team's game, pioneering them into the future of what would become one of Japan's most successful and popular video game franchises of all time. It was a rocky start, but with its success, we would see the main characters in multiple games as cameos and other Tales games, as well as company crossovers like Namco Cross Capcom, and the future would only get brighter.
Well, guys, that pretty much covers the introductory and explanation of the history of Tales of Destiny in terms of how it was created and where it went. Be sure to join us next time in the next episode, part 2 of Tales of Destiny, where we explain the whole story for all of you guys and help you understand it. Kind of like Tales of Fantasia, where we kind of spoiled that whole plot and story. But this one should be a little shorter for those of you who have short attention spans. So, see you next time on the Tales of Retrospective, only on the brotherhoodofgaming.com. Subscribe for more, gamers, and we'll see you next time.